This situation is going to get very ugly very quickly. Welcome back to the 511 show, and this is a story that has all the markings of being the next Amber Heard Johnny Depp situation in Hollywood. This is a situation that has gotten very ugly very quickly. There are now lawsuits involved on both sides, and one guy's career has essentially been destroyed as a result of this, even though at this moment all we have is an allegation from a very, very famous actress, and that alone is enough to destroy your career in Hollywood. So let's kind of rewind here for a second, because we need to kind of explain how we got here for people who haven't been paying attention to the story. Let's go back to August. Back in August, there was a film that came out called It Ends With Us, and it was starring Blake Lively. It was her first big film in like 4 years. So this is kind of her comeback film in a big sense. And Justin Baldoni was her co-star and the director of the movie. So the story here wasn't the actual film itself. Even though the film was a box office success, it made about $350 million on a $25 million budget. Did very, very well at the box office, but that was not the story of this whole situation. The story was Blake Lively's personal behavior and her beef behind the scenes with her co-star and director. These two did not like each other, and it wasn't a secret during the marketing phase for this movie. It wasn't a secret with everything that was going on behind the scenes. They did not appear anywhere with each other to do interviews or do any kind of marketing. They were running like a split camp where Blake would be over here marketing the movie, Justin would be over there, but they would never be anywhere near one another. You knew something was going on here. The story at the time behind the scenes, what led to the big conflict point with these two, is that apparently Blake Lively, who's also a producer of the film, she attempted to go to Sony, who produced and distributed this film, and tried to go over Justin's head, who is the director, to get her own cut of the movie released in theaters over Justin's cut of the movie, right? She tried to go over his head to the studio, which is a big, big no-no in Hollywood, especially with directors. So that led to a major fracture behind the scenes, and then it only got uglier from there, because what happened was that during the marketing phase of this movie, people started to pick out that Blake Lively probably wasn't the most pleasant person to be around behind the scenes. Now, if you guys don't know who Blake Lively is, she's primarily famous for being a part of Gossip Girl back in the day. She's obviously Ryan Reynolds' wife. They have a few kids together. She's also Taylor Swift's BFF. That's kind of the circle that Blake Lively runs in. When these videos started to go viral, there was one video in particular that really, really made her look bad. And it was a video by a reporter. She's a Norwegian reporter. I cannot pronounce her name, so I'm not even going to try. But her video was entitled "The Blake Lively Interview That Made Me Want to Quit My Job." That was the title of the video. And it was a video from a press tour for a movie called Cafe Society that came out in 2016. This is 8 years ago. And she posted this video because during the interview process, she was talking in a room with Blake Lively and one of the co-stars of the film, and Blake was very, very off-putting. That's the best way that I can describe it for YouTube purposes, right? Very, very off-putting. And she made a sly remark about the interviewer, because the interviewer basically started the interview by saying that, congrats on your little bump, being that she was pregnant with her second child at the time. And then lightly kind of respond with, congrats for your little bump. And the interviewer got very, very offended by that, because obviously she was not pregnant at the time. So you could say that that was a fat-shaming joke, which is going to come back around here in a second. But not only that, apparently the woman in question physically cannot have kids. So that whole thing really, really hurt her. And when that went viral, everyone kind of turned on Blake Lively. It was primarily women who turned on Blake Lively. It wasn't men. I know the prevailing theme here is going to be sexism and the patriarchy and all that. It was mostly women who did not like Blake Lively's attitude. And this is kind of what took place several months back. Well, here we are a few months later, I should say, but a few weeks ago, Blake Lively comes out and she alleges sexual harassment and essentially a multitude of threatening behavior behind the scenes from Justin Baldoni And she's going as far to claim that all of the negative press stories that we saw about Blake Lively back in August was actually endorsed by a smear campaign that Justin was responsible for. She's alleging that Justin ran a smear campaign to destroy her image in an attempt to silence or hurt any allegations that she had regarding sexual harassment and abuse behind the scenes. Now, she alleges in this suit that she's pushing right now that Justin Baldoni made multiple inappropriate comments behind the scenes regarding his sex life and regarding sexual things while they were working together. There's one time that she alleged that essentially she was breastfeeding in her makeup trailer and then Justin barged in completely unannounced, unprofessional manner. She even went as far to say that, Justin fat shamed her by inquiring about her weight with her personal trainer. Now, Justin talked about this several months ago. I guess some source for Justin talked about this several months ago, and they made a point, I should say, that Justin suffered a back injury during a production many, many years ago, and a back injury that's pretty active, obviously. And apparently he wanted to know how much she weighed so that he could properly train and not injure himself throughout the course of the filming of that movie. Whether you believe that or not, that's the story. But all these things came to light within the last couple of weeks, and Justin's career has taken a massive blow as a result of this. He has been dropped from his talent agency, WME, all of the Hollywood fixings, as I like to call them, like your publicist, your agency, talent relation, all this stuff. Everyone's completely distanced themselves away from Justin on a mere allegation, but however, the allegation got posted to the New York Times. And of course, in the bubble that is Hollywood, once the New York Times gets a hold of something, it's like, hey, we can't be around this guy anymore, whether it's true or not. The New York Times says it, so everyone backed away. Now Justin says that, the allegations are clearly false. He said that he was going to countersue. And the first big lawsuit that he has here is against the New York Times, who ran this article. He's suing them for $250 million and against them for libel because they ran with the story that led to him essentially being unpersoned and canceled in Hollywood, that, oh, he was doing these horrific things. Like he was barging into a pregnant woman's, not a pregnant woman, he was barging into, a woman's dressing room while she's breastfeeding her baby, like she's topless, obviously. Very, very inappropriate stuff. Well, Justin apparently has text messages. We don't know to extent how far back these messages go, but he has text messages from the production of this film that shows that, well, wait a second, I did not just barge into this woman's trailer unannounced and harass her while she was breastfeeding her kid. She told me she was breastfeeding her kid in the trailer, and then she basically gave consent that, hey, if you want to go over these lines, here's where I am, and there was consent given here. We all know Hollywood operates on a tier system. That's the way that the business goes. This isn't a fair system. It never has been. Blake Lively, whether you like her or not, and a lot of people tend not to like her, her star power is far greater than Justin Baldoni. So if anyone has the power or the stroke in Hollywood to really damage somebody's career, it's clearly Blake. Justin here is alleging that Ryan Reynolds, who is Blake Lively's husband, obviously the star of Deadpool, the MCU, all that good stuff, that even before the press junket, that he essentially accosted him at a film festival event. I believe it was Tribeca. It may have been maybe another one of those film festivals, but this was going back behind the scenes where it was alleged that Blake Lively was trying to get her own cut of the movie, and there was arguments about there. And apparently, before the whole thing kind of went, blew up to the way it did, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively both threatened to essentially leave WME if they did not get rid of Justin Baldoni, because all three of them are repped by the same agency, right? So what he's alleging is that, essentially Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively used their stroke in Hollywood and their star power in Hollywood to say that, hey, if you don't get rid of this guy, we're out of here. We're going to go to another agency. So as a result of that, they cut him loose. Justin here says that Blake Lively sent him a text saying that I'm just pumping in my trailer if you want to work out our lines. Justin then responded to that message saying that copy, eating with the crew, will head that way. 18 months later, the interaction was depicted in the New York Times in a bombshell report that was a far more sinister light that left out the key context of the situation that is basically a major part of the sexual harassment claims by Lively against Justin Baldoni. So he's suing the New York Times saying that I have evidence that proves that your entire premise of slandering me, of essentially libeling me, is completely false, and I'm going to pursue a $250 million lawsuit. So he's suing the New York Times. She's essentially suing him at the moment. There's a lot of he said, she said. Everyone claims that they have text messages. Justin claims that he has text messages directly from Blake, while Blake is claiming that she has text messages from a PR team associated with Justin to prove that he was the one responsible for all the negative press that she had to suffer through several months ago. So this is getting ugly, and it is getting ugly very, very quickly. No surprise to anyone. Basically, all of Blake Lively's famous friends are all coming out to support Blake. They're all throwing Justin under the bus. The industry, Hollywood, has seemingly picked a side here, whether the allegations against him are true or not. So who knows? Does this escalate to a point where we're looking at another, trial situation similar to what we saw a couple of years ago with Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, where is this the last remnant of Me Too? Is this the last remnant of Me Too? Because right now, like I said, Blake Lively's doing just fine. Like she's still married to Ryan Reynolds. She still has a lot of pull in the industry right now. Justin may very well be fighting for the sake of his career at the moment, and the things aren't looking very good on his side. I want to shoot this one over to you about who do you think is in the right, who you think is in the wrong here. Very, very interesting story. This is definitely going to progress here. We'll pay attention to it here more on Bounding on the Comics in the coming weeks and in the coming months. But until then, I will see you guys later on.